one thing that I've noticed, with you, Regina, and other, I would say, for lack of a better description, a more experienced, more maybe practicing, more vigilant, or whatever, someone who is really practicing the Course. And it doesn't always mean someone who's been doing it for a long time, but someone who is really seems to be modeling, demonstrating, practicing the Course, as I have seen you and others, many others really now. One thing that I'm noticing is the pause after you're speaking. One thing is, even in a conversation, even in a private conversation with you or with others that are practicing Course students, I'm seeing less emotions, less emotional feedback, automatic feedback and response, and more of a waiting, more of a pause and a waiting before maybe answering the question of another brother or sister. And so that's who I see Regina as a son of God who's not real. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, and I'll be honest. Every day is different. Every moment is different with an experience. We just talked about the fact that we are existence, and that the experiences come and go. We are that which was before, during, and after. So I would say that the pauses when I speak can actually seem to come from different places. Sometimes I'm very much at peace. And the pauses are there just because they're natural. And what does happen in the pause is that I hear Holy Spirit. And I hear/feel the guidance of what to say next. I know what to say next. So it's like I'm discovering what I will say in the pause. Tonight, the pause came because I was not at peace. And if you remember the beginning of this, or if you hear the beginning of this conversation, this teaching tonight, then what you might hear is at the very beginning, before I said hardly a word except for hi, and here's the link, before I even said what I want to do is pray, there was just a pause. And that was because I was not at peace. And I knew that what I needed was this teaching. It's funny because my mind was also telling me that because I was not at peace. All right, and by the way, this is a bullshit story. In case any of you guys hear it, I want you to know this is a bullshit story. We have to get to recognize the ego's bullshit stories so we don't believe them. But it was telling me that because I was not at peace, I should not come here and teach. That's a bullshit story. Because I needed this teaching. I needed to come here, get still, be quiet, and let Holy Spirit speak to me through this form that we call teaching. So tonight I got still so that I could quiet the mind, remember why I was here, and let Holy Spirit come to me for me. Now I'm very happy to share, so if what is coming tonight is also helpful for you, please take it too. But the funny thing is, probably the lesson in that is that notice that the stillness is helpful in both cases. When I'm perfectly at peace, the stillness comes naturally. But that's still how I hear. And when I'm not at peace, I need the stillness so that I can hear. But one thing that is really important is that we don't put anyone on a pedestal. And I've experienced a few people lately, especially since I was at a conference, who have me on a pedestal. And I'll be honest, that's the last place I want to be. I have my own struggles. Sometimes they're pretty tough. Right now I'm going through a pretty tough one. I have great times when I am really at peace and everything is easy, and that's a lot of fun. But remember, this is just the spiritual path. This is what Peace Pilgrim described as the spiritual path. She said it's a series of hills and valleys. The hills are the times when we're at peace, when it seems easy, and the valleys are when we go back into the ego again. And what she taught was that the valleys are not a failure. The valleys are a necessary and important part of the spiritual path. Because we go into the valleys in order to see more ego and let it go. And if we never allow ourselves to go back into these valleys, then we aren't able to finish the job of letting go of the ego. We have to see it to let it go. But what I also want to say is that when we're in these valleys, we do need the stillness. Because when that thinking mind is, going on whatever it's going on, we're just listening to the ego, so we need to find the stillness. And sometimes at first it's hard. Sometimes at first what we need to do is we need to just be patient with ourselves. If the mind seems to be going and going and going, and we know it's out of control, that's enough. Even if you're believing it in the moment, if you know it's out of control, you're not wholly insane in that moment when you know it's out of control. And if you can't seem to find the stillness, you can't seem to stop the chatter, then just choose patience. Just know that it cannot last forever. Remember that you are existence. You were before this experience, and you will be after, but this experience has to die because it's temporary. And just be patient. And what will start to happen if you just be patient is it will start to slow. And then when it starts to slow, then you can start to seek the stillness within. And the stillness may not have profound, deep, long messages where you can write 3 pages of what Holy Spirit said. It may just say rest. It may just say wait. It may just say trust. But if you listen to that bit of guidance that came in the stillness and do that, the mind's going to slow some more. And then you might be guided to go to Pal Talk. You might be guided to open A Course in Miracles or NTI. And then you may hear something that exposes something in your mind, something you needed to see. And then there might start to be that feeling of willingness in your chest again. You remember why you're here. You're here to let go of the ego. And you can start to feel some happiness that you're starting to see an error in your mind. You can start to feel some strength that says, yes, I can let go of this error in my mind. This is when you're on the way back up again. And it may take time. Sometimes it feels immediate. Sometimes it takes time. Just keep being patient. And remember that for each and every one of us, whether it's teachers, whether it's our spouses, whether it's, our friends, each and every one of us goes through these hills and valleys. So be patient and don't judge yourself when you're going through them, and be patient and don't judge your friends or teachers when they're going through them. In fact, be grateful and remember that the valleys are an important part of the spiritual path, because we cannot let go of the ego if we do not see it. And even be grateful that it takes time. Be grateful that it's a gentle path where we see the ego a little at a time and let go of it, and we're not overwhelmed. Let's just be grateful for everything. and trust everything. It's like the single quiet thought that Holy Spirit gave us not too long ago. He said, trust the healing process. It is what it may not seem to be. Trust the healing process. It is what it may not seem to be. So trust whatever we're going through. Remember to be patient with ourselves and our brothers. Remember that we really are where we want to be. We're on the path of awakening. All right, hold on one second. I'm going to take a private message, which I don't usually do. And it's just an I love you. Somebody's hearing. All right, I think it's 10:04, so I think we will stop for now. Let me just